Hey, Pastor Josh here, and it is May 18th of 2020, and this is the Redeeming Grace Church Weekly Update. I just want to share my heart with you a little bit of just kind of how I'm processing our situation as a church and how we go forward. First of all, I just want to thank you for your patience. You guys have been so encouraging, and you long to be together. You long for us to gather together, but you also care about people and just the weird circumstances we're in, and that there is a dangerous virus out there. And so I just appreciate with how patient you've been and encouraging you've been to me. I think our church has a good future ahead because nobody is wanting to stay in this state. We are a people that want to gather, so I have no concerns that some of you are just going to want to be an online church attender. You are eager to get back together, and I'm thankful for that, and thankful that I don't think that we're in any danger of just becoming an online church and you becoming online parishioners. I don't think that's biblically a category anyway, but just my conversations with you, I don't think we're in any danger of that. However, it is the means that we have available to us to get through this time. And so I did a survey last week just to get a sense of those that attend or are members of Redeeming Grace Church, and the survey kind of matched up with what South Canyon Baptist, our mother church, what their survey found, as well as my conversations with other pastors across the Midwest. Ours matched up. We're pretty typical in terms of our perspectives on this, and basically it breaks down into thirds. Is 1/3 is ready to meet right now. This COVID-19 thing is stupid, we should meet. So maybe that's too strong, but they're ready to meet. In the middle, there are people who want to go ahead and take steps towards meeting. And then there's some who are like, man, I really think this is serious, and their particular situations, we're not going to be going anywhere for maybe a few months until this kind of all passes by. So we've really got people in three different categories. And we have really some of the most godly people I know in each of those three categories. And frankly, we have some people who maybe are a little less spiritually mature in each of those three categories. We've got older people in each of those three categories. We've got younger people in each of those three categories. So we can't oversimplify the spectrum of perspectives on this. And it's not that one is godly, one's fearful, one's reckless, one's not. It's not that simple. And so there is no one godly response to this. There are a lot of things that are factored in, and our church is unique. So we can't just lead our church just like every other church. We have to lead our church as God calls us to faithfulness. So that's just was some interesting information there. For me, a big thing that is guiding the decisions that I'm making is that I'm responsible for the church as a whole, but then I'm also responsible for each of the people. And so, like when Jesus restored Peter to ministry, he said, "If you love me, you will tend my lambs." And so each person, their conscience, their situation, their spiritual maturity needs to be taken into account when you make a decision for the whole, and vice versa. In the whole, you're taking the good of the whole in your care for this one person, and so that's a tricky thing. I don't want to lose either one of those, and the reality is that Redeeming Grace Church at some point will cease to exist, but every single one of those souls is going to live forever, and I'm going to give an account not just for the whole, but for how I cared for and listened to and protected each of those individuals as well. So there's more going on than just the whole. There's also the personal care of each one. So I have to think that through and pray that through and ask for God's leadership there. Another thing is that going back years, back when planting this church was just a thought in my mind, just an idea in Bree and I's heart, the idea of being a biblical local church that is a gospel witness in downtown Rapid City is the essence of what this is intended to be. And God has been so kind to place us in the exact right spot at the Journey Museum to be able to do that. We're not butted up against some other church trying to do that, so there's not a territorialism that can sometimes come up in churches. There's real need that we want to engage right there. We've got a partner. The Journey wants us there. They want us to preach the gospel there. They want us to be there. We want to be there. It works really good for our congregation, and so for me, I don't want to get in such a hurry that we kind of lose what the heartbeat of the vision was, what the heartbeat of the calling was. And so for me, in light of the 3 or 4 years that this has been percolating in my heart, the last 2 months have been a drop in the bucket. And so I don't want to deviate course too much when I've got this long line of dots that God has connected to get us here, that I kind of want to see what that next dot is and not deviate, trusting that God has provided all the way down the line at the right time, the right decision to be made. And in light of that trajectory, it seems like to me right now, staying the course is the right thing to do. So that's a big part of it. It's the what I thought of just biblically was Jacob falling in love with Rachel and working 14 years for her. She kind of captured his heart, and so his vision was to do whatever it took to be there. And so it says that the years flew by because of his love for Rachel. And so for me, the idea of being a gospel presence in downtown Rapid City is the Rachel, that I am willing to work, hopefully not for 7 or 14 years, to see that happen there. And it seems like to uproot and do something different would be a bit premature. So that's where I'm at today. I feel all the same pressures that everybody else does, and so there may come a time where it's clear we should make a different decision. But in light of all that, I'm not there yet personally, and so feel like the most faithful way to lead the church is to do that before God in light of the vision. And then also just in terms of some have wondered, and this has come up a few times, if we could do an outdoor service or something. And an outdoor service is not a bad idea at all. It's come up, and I'll just tell you that I'm in network conversations with the North American Mission Board, the Send Network, local churches here. I've got dozens and dozens of pastors that I'm in weekly dialogue with, and let me just tell you, every pastor in the United States has considered outside services at some point, and very, very few of them have done it, and very, very few of those have done it a second time. So I've done outdoor services both at South Canyon and at my previous church, and so I kind of know that it's strange, it's hard to explain, because it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a challenge from kind of an attender's perspective. But I'll just tell you, there is a reason South Canyon only does one of those a year, and my previous church only did maybe one, maybe two. So I think at best that could be something that could be done once a month, but there's a lot of downsides to it, and so every pastor I've talked to, and I've seriously thought about it, and it's still a possibility in the back of my mind we could try it. But every pastor I've talked to is going yeah, it was okay, and we're not doing it again. So I want to be teachable and learn from that and go, okay, that does not seem to be the solution that it appears on the surface. I'm still open to that, just to be clear, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that yet. That's just not where I'm at yet. So just to address that right there. One analogy that I've thought of, there's a couple that I've thought of, but one is that when it comes to the church, and I do believe the church is a gathering, and so I've been very careful not to call our live stream online church. I just don't think that exists. I think you have to be a gathering. But I have been okay with saying that this is a live stream of Redeeming Grace Church, because the church is a covenant group of people that gathers, but even when they're delayed in their gathering, they still exist. So one example would be that a husband and wife are married to each other. They make a covenant to one another. Okay. Now, the biblical pattern would be that they live together. That would be what the Lord would ask of them. That's what they should try to pursue. But there can be times where that couple is separated, and maybe even for an extended time having to live in different places. Now, there is a big difference between they're living separately because they want to, and they're living separately because they have to and they long to be together as soon as possible. It's a big difference. So experientially on the outside, their daily experience may be the same, but the disposition of their heart and how they're viewing the covenant they made with each other is the difference between sin and not sin. So the fact that they are separated but long to be together and do all they can via technology, phones, letter writing, Skype, whatever, to maintain their relationship is a sign of faithfulness to their marriage, not unfaithfulness. And they will be together soon. If they're separated because they want to be separated, they have no intention of fulfilling their covenant with one another, and they are not using whatever to communicate with each other, then I think you're clearly in the bounds of sin. So I think that as a church, while we're in the situation where we're not able to gather together, the fact that we intend to gather and we are using every imperfect means that we can, Zoom, live stream, phone calls, texts, all that kind of stuff, to gather together, means that we're still legitimately, just like that couple still legitimately married, although in an imperfect situation, we are still legitimately a church seeking to fulfill our covenant commitments imperfectly until the day when we're able to come together. I think that's the situation we're in. So I don't think we're sinning as a church, and I think waiting to be able to do that in light of our vision is doesn't mean that we cease to be a church and all that. So to me, I'm thinking kind of along those lines, is not redefining the church, but because we want to continue our covenant still matters. We want to continue to live out that covenant together in imperfect means. So this means that, for the faithful marriage, they want to be together. They will use technology. They know that that's not a substitute for real person-in-person intimacy, but a couple that really loves each other is going to use technology. And I would just say that a church that really longs to be gathered is going to evidence that when they're not able to gather, they're still going to use technology. So that's why we're going to continue to use Zoom and YouTube live stream and that kind of stuff, texts and phones, because we want to fulfill as much as we're able to of that together. I know that there can be a risk that maybe people get attached to that, and therefore, I just don't think we're in danger of that. The overwhelming sense I get from people is that I'm tired of Zoom. I want to see people together. I don't think anyone is getting addicted to their technology through this time. I think they're all that much more wanting to gather. So I would have more concern, I guess, with someone who is like, I'm not doing the technology because that's not the biblical ideal. I would go, I wonder if you actually love your brothers then, because, if a man was like, well, since I can't live in the same house with my wife, I'm not going to call her. It'll be, is that really loving? Well, I don't want to redefine our marriage. Like, well, I guess that is a danger, but I don't think that either of you are being tempted to make this the permanent state of your relationship. I think you can come together. So, anyway, that's kind of the way I'm thinking about this, and that's why I'm taking kind of the approach that I am. So, I don't know if that's helpful. Maybe that sits well with some of you. Maybe that's helpful for others. Maybe for some of you that's just confusing, or maybe way off base. I totally understand that, and I'm thinking carefully, praying constantly, losing a lot of sleep over what we do. And so, just as I seek the Lord's wisdom, our plan is to stay the course for now, and constantly reevaluating where that's at. So you can pray for me in that. Tonight I will be meeting with the South Canyon Baptist Church elders And I always bounce things off of the pastors and elders over there. And so this will be a situation where I share very candidly about where we're at and what my people are feeling, what I'm feeling, and I will seek their guidance and counsel as well. I have a Zoom call this afternoon as well with a bunch of church planners across the Dakotas, and I'll bounce this off them and seek their prayer and guidance. And I have a call with the Pillar Network, which is 100 plus pastors across the nation that are all in the same place, that have the same convictions about the gospel and the church that we do. And I'll seek their counsel as well and hear and learn from them. And so, and I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think, and consider your opinions and your preferences and your just where your conscience lies right now. And Habakkuk 2 has been an encouragement to me this morning. Listen to this. I will take my stand at my watchpost and station myself on the tower and look out to see what he will say to me and what I will say concerning my complaint. The Lord answered me, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. So I think of all that God has called us to be and do, and all of those different avenues and aspects and the people involved. Our vision, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For since the vision awaits its appointed time, it hastens to the end, it will not lie. And if it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. And I think those words have been sweet to me today, that the Lord has laid a vision on us, a biblical vision, and to wait for it. It will surely come. And so let's trust him. And let me know if there's ways I can pray for you, or even your response to this video. I would love to know what you think. So God bless you. I'm praying for you. Keep praying for me. And I hope to catch up with you this week at some point.